Mate, show us your meditation routine. Because, meditating's important, is it not? That's right, Jilly's Free, concerned, and with your mental health, and here is the theme tune. Get it pumping with the theme tune with Mr. Reed. You're listening to the NeverFap Deluxe Daily. Of course, here to help you overcome your porn addiction. Assuming that you're addicted, maybe you're just like laughing at those sad porn addicts. Well, yeah, obviously, don't do that because, we're all human. We're all trying to help each other. Today's topic is your fetish is irrelevant to your recovery. But, that's the topic. And before the topic, we go to the checkup. The checkup. Today's, every checkup, Daddy Dr. Reed checks up on you, the struggling porn addict listener who's like, my dick's on fire. And it's like, well, I'm here to help put it out of its misery. Get a gun, shoot it. Shoot his dick. Shoot it. Nani? Omae wa mo shinderu. So yeah, check up on you. How are you coping? How are you doing? Are you doing well? Are you doing poorly? Maybe you tripped over recently and smashed your face on the sidewalk. Well, I mean, that was painful. But obviously, talking more about mental health. Have you been happy? Have you been sad? How have you been coping with stress? That's a big one. If you're not feeling mentally balanced, in fact, if you're not mentally balanced at all, well, then basically it means that, either stress is getting to your head, or you're basically not practicing healthy coping mechanisms in order to deal with, well, I guess, there's more than stress. I'm trying to think of what the other ones are. I guess stress is sort of like an overarching concept. It's like, you're stressed. Oh, well, I guess there's emotional factors as well. Maybe, you haven't been, too happy. Maybe you're going through a breakup. Well, I'm here to help you. Anyway, I guess this is what we call the checkup. Julie's Reed checking up on you. Did you meditate today? How are you going to maintain mental balance if you're not meditating, son? Meditating is what's going to help you develop your awareness so you can be more aware of your behaviors. And when you're aware of your behaviors, you can effectively change them. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but that's what it's about, learning new things and improving as a human being. Did you exercise? Exercise so important. How are you going to get those massive pecs, buddy? Or if you're a woman, those like squat thighs. Well, I guess men and women both want the massive squat thighs. I know I want massive squat thighs, but I unfortunately am in a wheelchair, so that's not true. What is true though? Remaining calm, important. Remaining aware. Did you remain aware today? And what are you going to do differently tomorrow or today? Maybe you're going to start meditating before bed, perhaps. Maybe you meditate once a day. You want to increase it to 3 times a day. That's what I did recently. I've started meditating 3 times a day. And in the beginning, it was kind of difficult because it was like, oh, man, I'm losing that time. But now I am so much more mentally balanced. I'm so much more in control and happy because, my emotions aren't fluctuating. And, I've just been feeling a lot better about myself. So, yeah, definitely worth it. And I can recommend that you jump on that bandwagon because meditating is awesome. Yeah, that's right. It's awesome and it's not a fail. No. All right. And obviously people booing you. So that was the checkup, checkup, which brings us to the topic. As you can tell, it's a bit of a spooky one today, or yesterday, or whenever it was. The topic, today's topic is your fetish is irrelevant to your recovery. And, the reason why I want to talk about this topic today is because, I get a lot of people, there's basically a rising problem that I see. A lot of people is that they focus on their symptoms, and definitely one of the symptoms that people freak about at the most, in my opinion, as in like properly freak out. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to like die if I don't figure out how to like do this thing. But yeah, the thing they freak out about is when they're particularly obsessed with their fetish and they wonder if they're ever going to overcome that fetish again. So like a big one's like, I guess like gay porn, guys who are straight. I mean, again, like maybe you're not straight, maybe you're actually gay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of insecure guys out there who's like, oh no, I'm gay. Oh, I'm going to die. Well, I guess it's a religion thing. But you can be gay and religious. Or if not, you just kill yourself. I mean, I don't know, like what alternative is there? Um, yeah, so obviously don't kill yourself. That's terrible advice. But yeah, people freak out about their fetish. It's like, will I always be obsessed with like feet for the rest of my life? Or like, like gay porn seems to be the main one. It's like, oh, I'm really into gay porn. I'm worried I'm gay. Well, it's like, if you're watching gay porn, you probably are gay. Like, I mean, yeah, I just, yeah, anyway. Yeah, again, nothing wrong with being gay. But yeah, people say it's like, oh, well, it's just the porn. And it's like, yeah, anyway. But yeah, it could be any fetish. It could be, financial domination. I don't know. It could be anything. Maybe you're really into big breasts. For some reason, it's like people only freak out when the fetish is like considered abnormal, which I guess makes sense. It's like, they're sort of hitting an extreme, so to speak. I mean, porn is an extreme within itself. It's kind of like you're literally watching people have sex. Like that's like you don't see that like in public. Like it is so like that's something you only see inside of homes. Yeah, and you've broken in and you're hiding in the closet. Obviously, don't do that. But yeah, it's like people freak out. It's like they're so worried about being consumed by their fetish. Cuckold is another one that they completely neglect what will actually help them recover. I see this again and again. It's like people are so obsessed with what's wrong with them and they become so obsessed with it. It's like that's all they can think about because that's all they focus about. It's like this, and it creates this victim mindset of like, oh, well, I can't do it. Oh, I'm so effed up. Oh, I have all these issues. And like they just loop through these thoughts. Because it's all they focus on. And they never actually get to a point of, okay, what can I do to recover? Because they ruminate. And ruminating is obviously an unhealthy coping mechanism. If you read on the website, our list of unhealthy coping mechanisms, because you need to replace them with healthy coping mechanisms. So yeah, they basically just continue to ruminate, which just creates more fear. And it's, self-reinforcing cycle. So I'm here to provide some clarity into that. Here's the deal. Your fetish is completely irrelevant to your recovery, especially in the context of the fundamentals of recovery. So what does it mean for it to be irrelevant? Well, here's what I hear, from people is that, when I'm recovered, will I still have that fetish? And it's like, here's the deal. Short answer, if you approach your recovery in the right way, of course, assuming your fetish will go away and you will no longer be consumed with it. Reason? Well, basically because once you have control of your mind, once you have mental balance, you won't be thinking about porn at all. So if you're not thinking about porn, there's no possible way that you could be thinking about your fetish. It's not just porn. It's like, it's everything. It's like any sort of negativity, any sort of stress, any sort of like anything you don't want to think about, you won't think about. It's not possible to both think about a fetish as well as have mental balance. It's just not possible. And I guess because people haven't experienced mental balance or, they're not that far into the recovery to have even tasted like a little bit of mental balance. And so that they have these misconceptions that they're always going to be stuck, thinking about porn because like all they've ever done is think about porn and be addicted. So they assume, well, that's like the default. It's like, it's an uphill battle from here. That's not true. Once you have control over your mind, once you once you're able to maintain your mental balance, you won't be thinking about that fetish at all. It will just disappear. How I describe it is kind of like when you were, like 7 years old, like you don't remember. It's like you remember parts of it and you remember things happen, but you can't relate to it. That's the same thing with your fetish. You won't be thinking about it. It just won't be there. So there's nothing to worry about. What there is to worry about, though, is you not actually committing to your recovery in a way that's going to get you there. You got to stop ruminating. If you're ruminating, it's all about identifying the rumination, pausing, and then continuing on. So identifying, pausing, continuing on. Continuing on in the sense of like continuing on with your day. But yeah, identify, don't react, because the reaction is really sort of the behavior in a sense. Don't react. It's not an issue. It's just not an issue. And that's why it's kind of frustrating, because it's like, if you understand the fundamentals of what mental balance is, then you realize that it's just not possible. But yeah, it's also, people go, oh, mental balance, it's this elusive concept, which, in a way it is. Everything's fine. So you'll only get there if you develop mental balance, and you'll only get there if you're meditating daily, because meditation is the strongest way to develop mental balance. It is literally spending 10 minutes remaining completely balanced. So if you practice this frequently, it will make you balanced. Worrying about your fetish is the exact opposite to developing awareness. So the more you worry, the less time you actually will have to spend committing to your mental health, and the longer it's going to take. In fact, you may just be stuck ruminating forever. I know there are some guys who I'll talk to some guys, and it's like they're so thick in their rumination that it's like I actually just don't bother. I just stop talking to them because I know it doesn't matter what I say. They're so stuck in their rumination that there's nothing I can do. And that's kind of scary. I've been there, and I think it's part of the reason why people don't help addicts, and they don't help people, because it's kind of like there's nothing that they can do. That's why it's important to stop early, because once you get to that point, you're kind of on your own, unless if you seek serious mental health, serious mental help. That was the topic. That was a pretty good topic. You know what's pretty good as well? Oh, the viewer mail.
The viewer mail.
The viewer mail. Today's viewer mail comes from Joseph Phillips from Augusta, United States. I've never heard of Augusta. I assume is that a state? I have no idea. I've been there. Obviously, I've been there. It's beautiful. There's trees and stuff. Joseph says, I like to pretend as if my penis is actually a gun during sex, and that when I come, I'm actually shooting my partner in the vagina with a .50 caliber round. What do you like to pretend your penis is during sex? Well, thank you for the candid honesty, Joseph. Clearly, you're a psychopath who, should either be hung or locked up. I'll take either option. But, since you asked, I personally like to pretend as if, I have a massive black cock, massive to a point that, it's making her vaginal canals bleed. That's not true. Sometimes I even like to pretend as if my penis is actually a knife, and it's like I'm stabbing her in the pussy. It helps me deal with the hatred I have for my mother. Wow. Okay, that's meta on a lot of levels. Clearly no conviction doing this one. My favorite as a child, however, was I saw the word rapist. Brace yourselves. So my favorite as a child, however, was when my rapist would pretend as if his cock was an aeroplane flying into my mouth. And although I now have an intense fear of flying, as well as blowing older men, holding firearms to my head, I can safely say that I turned out perfectly normal, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with me. Well, that was, and then the last bullet point is just the words "kill me, kill me, kill me" in exclamation marks. Yeah, well, I guess I had to write this. I'm sorry. That was an extreme viewer mail. Obviously, Anyway, have a great day. Here's the outro. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Reddit, Castbox. Leave a nice review maybe if you like the show. And send us an email, NeverFapDeluxe@gmail.com if you'd like to send in a viewer mail. I also do another podcast, The Writers Daily. And as always, look after your mental health and don't wank.